The gavel slammed down with a force that seemed to shake the courtroom walls. All eyes turned toward Judge James Boasberg, his face steeled with determination. It wasn't the kind of day anyone in Washington expected. In that courtroom, silence carried the weight of history. And at the center of it all stood Tom Homan, the fiery former acting director of ICE, known for his unapologetic stance on immigration and his thunderous speeches. The proceedings had begun like any other hearing lawyers, shuffling papers, reporters hunched over their notebooks, cameras clicking in the hallway outside. But the tension was thick, almost suffocating. Judge Boasberg had been handed evidence, documents, testimonies, and recordings that painted a troubling picture of Homan's recent actions that many feared crossed the line from strong rhetoric into unlawful conduct. "Mr. Homan," Judge Boasberg began, his voice echoing across the chamber, "you have sat before this court before as an expert, a witness, even a public servant. But today, you sit here to answer a much graver question: whether you stand above the law." Gasps rippled through the gallery. Homan, unshaken on the surface, leaned forward, his jaw tight. For years, he had embraced his image as a fighter, a man unafraid of controversy. But today felt different. The cameras weren't rolling for a Fox News interview or a political rally. This was a federal courtroom, and the man before him wielded the power to decide his immediate future. The prosecution laid out their case, carefully detailing alleged abuses of authority, overreach, and direct defiance of legal restraints. Witnesses spoke of commands that ignored standing orders, of operations pushed beyond lawful boundaries, of lives upended without proper recourse. Each statement seemed to chip away at Homan's defiant image, turning the once boisterous figure into someone cornered by his own decisions. Homan's defense countered with equal vigor, painting him as a patriot, a man doing what was necessary to protect the nation. "He is not a criminal," his attorney argued. "He is a soldier in a war to secure our borders." But Judge Boasberg listened in silence, his eyes narrowing, his hands folded. Then came the moment no one expected. Boasberg leaned forward, his voice calm but sharp enough to pierce through the air. "Mr. Homan, patriotism does not excuse lawlessness. This court does not serve ideology. It serves justice. And justice demands accountability." Homan shifted, visibly unsettled for the first time. His defiance flickered, replaced by a grim understanding of where this was heading. The room seemed to freeze in time, every breath shallow, every glance locked on the judge. Minutes later, the decision came down. Judge Boasberg ordered Homan's arrest on charges tied directly to his actions while in power. The words landed like thunderclaps. "Mr. Homan, you are hereby remanded into custody." Gasps filled the chamber. Reporters dashed for the exits to break the story. Officers stepped forward, their movements steady but decisive. For the man who once commanded federal agents, the sight of handcuffs closing around his wrists was nothing short of stunning. The courtroom sat in stunned silence, the symbolism impossible to ignore. Here was a man who had wielded enormous power, confronted by the reality that power unchecked cannot stand against the rule of law. As Homan was led away, Judge Boasberg's words lingered in the minds of all who heard them. "No man, no office, and no ideology stands above the law." For many watching, the moment was sobering but also inspiring. It wasn't about politics or party. It was about the core idea of democracy, that even the powerful must answer for their actions. The news spread across the nation in minutes. Some cheered, some raged, but no one could deny the gravity of what had just unfolded. A chapter had been written in the ongoing story of accountability in American government, and when the echoes of that gavel finally faded, one truth stood tall above the rest. Justice, though often delayed, still had the strength to roar when it mattered most.